and welcome to Sagas of Sundry Quests and Answers, where we take you inside the latest and greatest in the world of Goblin Mode. You just watched episode 1, presumably. If you haven't, go no further because spoilers ahead. We're going to talk all about the episode that just happened, everything that you may have just watched or listened to, so this is your last warning because otherwise it's kind of on you. I'm Dan Casey, and I'm joined once again by the amazing team that we have here.
I'm Danielle Radford. Hi, hello.
Amy Vorpahl.
I'm Jason Nguyen.
All right, so that was a hell of a first episode.
That was so fun, y'all.
Yes.
That was so fun.
I love that.
I am just so thrilled to finally be exploring this weird, wild world with our little band of just strange creatures and creeps.
Yes.
So Amy, I want to start with you. What was it like for you when you were sort of putting the initial ideas for this world together and starting to play in this sandbox? Like, do you have a favorite thing that you got to bring to life in this episode?
In this episode, yeah, I mean, I just like the idea that you all have a home, and I start you out with nothing. Period.
Yeah.
like completely it taken away. So I love that initially it's, just a little skill check thing of seeing what you even would do. There's a version where you climb out of the pit and it's still desolate, but I love that it started off really lighthearted. Like your minions, you don't know all that happened.
Right.
It's like, oh, adventurers left and probably succeeded somehow, but like it wasn't until later that the weight of it hit you. So I think that's what I liked bringing to life was like, one, the characters, a little skill check, and then kind of hitting you a little bit over the head with some loss.
Yeah, definitely a lot of loss in this episode.
Yeah.
I also just liked at the beginning that we get that little taste of, was it the Yesterdusters?
Yeah, the Yesterdusters.
The Yesterdusters. If I ever find Kathy and the other names,
They're getting it.
they're probably going to kill me because we're very low
Ruth and
level.
Taganek, yeah, they were fun to build because I was like trying to make, earnest people, earnest adventurers, but also a little bit annoying so that minions would be like, screw those guys, like I love us and that type of thing that adventurers actually do say to each other in D&D games. And it's like, well, what if those people actually overheard you and it was like, you just took out my entire family.
Yeah.
Like, I love us. We're so friends. It was friendship, like friendship along the way type stuff. And the minions would be like, yeah, they're dead. I'm gonna go get them.
Yeah, meanwhile, like, Tippy's got like a jar full of his dead best friend. It's like, yeah.
Well, that was unexpected
Yeah.
that you bottled him up, which him and a mustache.
And his mustache, he's just, couldn't let it go. And Tippy keeps things. That's his big problem.
Yeah.
He likes to gather and collect things, and why not his dead best friend?
Including problematic gelatinous cubes.
For sure. For sure, very problematic.
Right.
Probably good that he died
Maxwell.
first.
Yeah.
Maxwell. Oh, when you were scene painting Maxwell, which I had not scene painted for you, you took that on yourself and you painted him as an offensive boomer character.
Old-fashioned. Just because he has a mustache and a top hat, I'm like, nothing good is coming out of his mouth, for sure.
Oh, do you
It's
know?
just Michigan J. Frog as soon as this camera stops rolling.
Like, what if the Monopoly Man was alive now? He'd say something not cool,
Hey, Mr. Peanut's getting with the times. Like, there's a chance.
That's true.
I really was. I was like, gosh, is there a way that he could be alive so I can reward this? And I was like, what am I thinking? Why would I reward this?
I wanted that so bad.
I know. Yeah, I mean, y'all had already mentioned Gobby being a bit of a slur.
Just want
on
to
some
double check.
level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm cool with it.
Like
I'm cool with it,
questionably offensive, and so I was like, well, maybe I come in hot with that, but yeah, essentially I was like,
See, I took
goodness, he's
that
dead.
as Tippy just messing with us because we're very gullible skeletons.
No, it was genuine. It was very
I took it,
genuine.
but yeah.
I tread carefully moving forward.
Yeah, we'll limit the amount of talking you get to do.
Everybody I meet is going to be guys, this really problematic new character.
All right, so we know that Tippy is someone who likes to hoard a lot of things. One thing I really liked about Busy is that she has these deep professional aspirations, but she's also kind of like anxious or nervous to act on them. So tell us a little bit more about Busy and where that's coming from.
So Busy obviously suffers from imposter syndrome, right?
Of course.
So Busy's like very, if this was, a 90s kind of world, unfortunately, I love Busy, she doesn't have her girls, but if she was like, an independent skeleton of the 90s, like, that's her like track is like she. It's something that I'd spoken about with Amy when I was creating the character, is that like it's when you think about the fact that you are essentially a prisoner in this, like you're a minion, like you don't have agency, and so you find things that you can control, and it's like, well, if I'm going to be like a prisoner, like not have agency, then I'm gonna be the best at it anybody ever was. I'm gonna get to stand at the right hand of Unzug, and then maybe I can be the boss. I tell the people, I tell you what boots to lick. I do that now. And so Busy like very much wants to be, she aspires to be nothing more than the assistant to the regional manager. That is like what she is looking, looking to get out of all of that. And that's why so much of it is like, no, we're gonna find Unzug, and when we find Unzug, then gonna be so impressed by me that I might get a day off. Can you imagine?
And Phibbs cannot imagine that. It's just like, we were reborn, resurrected into a life of constant toil in the service of this necromancer. And as far as Phibbs is concerned, wow, what a blessing. This is the best possible thing he could have asked for. Day in, day out with all of his pals, like doing all of this like random work for this sort of unclear end to benefit this Dark Lord who he's only seen from a distance. Yeah, it was. I love this world, and it's going to be very exciting to see how they move forward now that they're like the structures that have given their lives purpose, or at least given their lives structure, have dissipated.
Well, I think a big theme of just even the kind of overall idea of Goblin Mode is that you're all characters, and as I said before, like your video game code. So as far as agency, Danielle, like you said, as far as agency is concerned, it doesn't exist. Like there's no agency. Now the story though is that you are player characters, which means you are heroes in your own right, which means there is going to be a shift of agency, and we've already seen it. We spent 20 minutes trying to tip over a freaking like cow tip a
Worth it. Mimsy had it covered.
Mimsy needed a little humbling.
Yeah, that's also a surprise for me too. When I'm planning characters, I'm like, oh, like they have some version of a backstory for sure, but like the tone that you take with them, like, oh, I had no idea there would be so much ire. Oh, with Mimsy.
Mimsy is right. I like the mix though, because I like that there's a character who's all about Unzug, and Phibbs is. I feel like so like. Is it simple pleasures, or is it like what's Phibbs like? What's going through Phibbs' mind? I want to know.
Phibbs thinks that Unzug is the greatest. He's the most powerful Dark Lord of all time. He's really impressed by him and wants to be like him. That's why he's been
like a role model.
He's like aspirational, like. Wow, I was like lucky enough to be drafted into this never-ending skeleton war in his service, but like, I wonder if I one day could exceed my station and learn to do some of the incredible necromantic feats that he does. If I'm a product of necromancy, maybe that'll give me a way in. Like, he's curious. He's like hungry to learn more, but kind of nervous to step out of lockstep in a different way than Busy is. Like, he doesn't want to like, I don't think he wants to be the Dark Lord. He just wants to do some of the cool stuff that he knows the Dark Lord can do, because he's like, that is really impressive, and like, I wonder if I could be impressive someday as well.
Like to use like a gold medalist.
Yeah, he's just like the greatest. Yeah. He's the Michael Jordan of being an evil necromancer.
Yeah, that's great, because Tippy's the opposite. Tippy's afraid. He's motivated by fear. Everything scares him, and I think he thinks Unzug will kill him like on sight.
I think Unzug would probably kill all of us on sight. That was my big worry, is that we were going to encounter Unzug.
We did.
And who knows? We might still at some point. Right. It's the campaign's young. We might find him and have a reckoning with our role model / boss / object of abject fear. Was there anything that we did, Amy, that like totally threw you for a loop, where you're like, I'm going to kill these guys?
Like almost. No, I would say like, especially for a first episode, like my whole thing for the audience and for you all is knowing that, okay, so your undeaths are very new. You're learning about the lore of the world along with the audience. So I know I'm doing a lot of setup, and that's on purpose. As far as doing things, I will say I when I said you're right above the spider's lair, I did not expect it to. You to be like, well, then let's just dig our way out of it.
I thought we were going to climb out for sure.
I also thought we were just going to climb out for sure. I put little switches on the wall. Like, it would be hard to do, but you could switch climb your way out of that. And then it was like, no, obviously a tunnel while I balance on the shoulders. Like, that's just very funny to me.
Right.
So nothing that screwed the pooch. Now, I will say that there have been stuff that you have done that I've written down to make either more or less important / more important / morph in some way to punish you. But we'll see. We'll see how that transpires. It's just that, overall, what I'm mostly very, very happy about is to really finally meet these characters. I know we had a session 0, but even that was, it was such a first time of everything that this is like, now you have your powers, you're level 1, you have your classes, you have, the categories that you're fitting yourselves into within a group setting. And it's really fun to see. It's fun to see you all support each other in grief, but also support each other in ire and umbrage, and just get into some shenanigans.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the next session holds.
Well, what was it like? I want to know what it was like for all of you when you sent me some really cool character backgrounds, and then you kind of woke up. I know Dan and Jason, you were given kind of a minute to work through to process some stuff. But what was that like?
Oh, in terms of
your best friend's dying, basically.
Yeah, of course. Oh, you mean
and
just immediately dealing with the loss of my best friend, my one lifeline, down in this never-ending skeleton hell? No, it was pretty chill. I had a great time.
I actually thought that was like a quite emotional scene. Like,
I saw us getting tears in your eyes.
Because when I think you said something like you didn't deserve that, and I was like, damn.
It was. I was trying to I know with this I like it a lot because we are definitely, I think, hitting a comedic tone at times, but I like that there's space for these more serious moments because they're not just cartoon characters. They are these characters that we've created and trying to give them interiority and a feeling that they've been lived in. They didn't just appear one day out of thin air. And for me, it was just I really liked the questions that you had us answer in terms of building these characters, in terms of thinking through aspects that, okay, I might not have paused to think through who was Phibbs' lifeline down here. And I like the idea that it was just this spider who, telepathic or not, he could not trauma dump, but just have someone to talk to who would just be okay, sure, skeleton man who's talking to me, why not? But then I liked the turn that it took. It was just definitely, I was not expecting to deal with that so quickly. I thought oh, cool, maybe I'll meet Bloodweaver at some point and she'll be my familiar or something like that. But instead I have Loof instead, and I love her already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because as you're why don't you say what it was like to...
No, it was, I actually felt quite sad, and it was such a horrific death for somebody who was my bestie. So yeah, it really moved me. Both of those scenes were really moving.
I was gonna say it's nuts to, I don't know what I want to say, but it's I want to get those questions for the backstory, where your characters come from. The reason I asked that one specific question is who, not, I don't know how I ask it, but it's who's your lifeline or who do you actually know, is because, not saying you do this, but I've been in campaigns with players where a lot of them will go, everyone's dead. Everyone's dead, and I'm traversing the world alone, and I'm an orphan. And it's sure, but you're not in a vacuum. Certainly at some point, you came across someone. But I could also see the tendency, as we're building out this kind of trope of minions in a dungeon, that it would be oh no, if I'm video game code, then all I have is my 1, 2, 3. I sit on the chest and then I stand up and I move around and I look left and I look, like I have my orders, or I move the pile of rocks from here to there, and that's what I care about most. And it's like, yeah, but you are kind of all in this together. So beyond the players, like what else could you build? And so yeah, you having a ghost, you having a spider, you having an ooze, it was really cool. It was really interesting to get them all back and being like, oh, y'all are helping me build this dungeon. Let me take it away from you.
Now I'm excited for the follow-up campaign, Sagas of Sundry Edgelords, where we all play these like rival shattered orphans who have been through absolute hell.
That's right.
But you mentioned the ghost. I want to talk about Ronnie because I really enjoyed that aspect. What is going on with Busy and Ronnie?
What's happening?
So a lot of that is like new. So we are going to find all that out together.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
That inhabiting moment was hilarious.
Yeah, was it hilarious, or did you were like, Tippy's out?
Tippy's learning that was like a birds and bees talk for Tippy.
It kind of was. Yeah. I didn't plan it to be that way, Danielle. And here we go.
Yes, and.
But I will say, all of y'all, when Dan was like, doing stuff with Bloodweaver, y'all asked this, and when Tippy, was doing the locket thing, y'all asked this, which is like, are y'all just friends? like Dan or Phibbs, you are all up in that spider's uterus. Are y'all just friends? And a locket, really? So yeah, I think
Uncle or Papa.
Ooh, Uncle Papa.
That's something.
Find out on a thrilling new episode of Goblin Mode.
I find that so disgusting to call people Unky, and yet here I am doing it because screw y'all. Now you have to listen to it. But yeah, Unky Tippy and Unky Phibbs.
Yeah, it has a bad ear feel.
Yeah,
it makes my ears hurt.
I do. This has nothing to do with this, but there's went on a first date. We were gonna get drinks. Meet downtown at his apartment, and he was like, "Well, do you want to get drinks or get dinner?" And I was like, "Oh, honestly, dinner sounds great." He goes, "Oh yeah, Amy hungry?"
Nope. Absolutely.
And I legit went,
I cringe now.
No, I went
right
and
now.
I was like, well, let me take a look at your apartment. What's going on? And I just kind of spent 15 minutes in his apartment kind of looking around. I was like, you know what? I don't feel like, I'm actually not feeling good, actually.
You should have been
You're
like,
no longer hungry.
you should have been
no longer
like,
anything. And I left and we didn't go on the date. Because that was a firm deal breaker. Like if someone's going to look at me and go, Amy hungry? Like,
I think you need to raise the stakes. So you have to be like, yes, Unky, with no contact.
So that's the level that I'm. Anyway, I hate myself for doing it, and yet here we are.
No, I loved it.
Unky, y'all.
Unky Phibbs.
Auntie's cute.
Auntie's cute.
You can't mess with that.
Uncky's like, yeah.
Yeah, that makes me want to vom. Anyway, a little bit about me.
All right, well, I hope everyone else out there is hungry for adventure as well, because we have much more Goblin Mode coming your way each and every week. Here you can watch it on Geek and Sundry or listen wherever your fine podcasts are served. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.